Welcome back to Sasquatch Theory. In tonight's episode, we dive into the mysterious outdoors of Hayward, Wisconsin, with Paul, who recently moved to the area and quickly found himself face to face with some of the strangest experiences of his life. From translucent creatures darting through the woods to silent bugs, phantom winds, and even a portal-like black hole opening up in the forest. Paul's encounters raise questions about what truly lurks in the wilderness. Grab your gear, because this one is going to blur the line between the natural and the supernatural. I've had several guests on the show in the past from Hayward, Wisconsin, and they all seem to be sharing experiences of the supernatural. And there's a lot of skeptics that live in the area that say these people don't know what they're talking about. But the simple answer is they have just never experienced anything in their life, and that's a common thing for many people out there in the United States to say about Bigfoot activity or unexplained mysteries. If you enjoy listening to Sasquatch Theory, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to comment down below. If you have a Bigfoot encounter you would like to share with me here on Sasquatch Theory, please be sure to get in touch with me sometime. With all that being said, let's dive into Paul's supernatural encounters from the state of Wisconsin. All right, Paul, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Miguel. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for asking. Paul, if you would, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your Bigfoot experiences from the very beginning, please.
All right. So, my name is Paul. Be turning 65 here in a couple of weeks. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, and my wife and I, back in 2019, decided to start experiencing some things. So we found this lovely place up by Hayward, Wisconsin. It's in the middle of the Chequamegon National Forest. And we dragged the camper up here and we parked it, and we've been here ever since. And we absolutely love it. It is so quiet up here, and the stars at night, unbelievable. You just can't get that in the cities. So my first experience, like I said, we got here in 2019. We purchased a bigger camper and brought it up in 2020, late fall. The next year, 2021, I came up here in the fall to close up the camper for the winter. And it was probably, early to mid-October. And I was getting ready to shut down for the night, and I stepped outside to have a smoke. I flipped on the awning lights, and the awning was out. And, it's got that string of LED lights, so you know how bright it gets underneath there when the awning's out. So I'm standing there. It's probably 10 o'clock at night, so it's pitch black up here. And I stepped out, lit up the smoke, and standing there underneath the awning, and all of a sudden this thing flew underneath the awning, probably about 6 feet from me. The awning is, when it's out, is about 8 to 9 feet tall. So this thing came out of the woods underneath the awning and just flashed by me. And my first thought was, oh, that's got to be an owl, because there was no sound. But there were no wings either. And I turned and I started running out towards the road, which is only about 10, 15 feet. And I saw this thing flying down the little gravel road in the campground here, bobbing up and down. And it was probably moving, my guess, 25, 30 miles an hour. And it got down by this light that's on the road, and it just turned and shot into the woods. And I'm like, well, what the heck was that? It was about just a tad bigger than a football. And it was, for lack of a better term, it was translucent or opaque. It just totally blew me away. I just stood there and I'm like, what the heck was that? What the heck just flew by me? Like I said, there was no sound. And it went into the woods and I'm like, okay. And then I talked to the owner of the resort, and they've had some experiences up here as well. And he says in the spring and fall is when it gets really active. So the next spring, I came up here early in April to open up the camper again. And I was standing talking to the owner, and it was one of those days where it's cloudy with a real low cloud deck, uh, very windy, probably 25-mile-an-hour winds. And we were standing there, and where the boats are parked down at the dock, it was probably about, I don't know, let's say about 200 yards away. So the wind is blowing like left to right. And I just happened to turn and glance, and over the boats comes this cloud. I couldn't even describe how the size of it, but it was large enough to see. It was headed the opposite direction at a much higher rate of speed than the wind was blowing. And just boom, I just caught a real quick glimpse of it. And I turned and I asked the owner, I said, "Did you just see that?" And he goes, "What did you see?" So I said, I'm like, "I just saw this cloud moving from right to left. The wind is blowing left to right." He goes, "Yeah, I saw it." He says, "Every spring and fall." So then there's a couple just across the road from us. And when I say road, it's just this little gravel road. And so we got to know him, and he wanted to try muskie fishing. So took him out muskie fishing. And this was in 2022. The lake is not very big. It's like 360 acres. There's, I think, this place, one other resort, and then another cabin on it. And that's the only human activity on the shores. And it's very quiet. And so we went out muskie fishing. He ended up catching this really nice, like 45-inch muskie, first one he ever caught. And I've never caught one that big out of this lake. But so he was pretty pumped about it. And we released it. And then a couple of weeks later, when we got back up here, this was in July now, we decided to go out fishing. And it was a Friday afternoon. It was probably about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we get out on the lake, and it's just dead calm. Just one of those days where the sun is high in the sky, not a lick of wind, no ripples on the water. And we get up on the north end of the lake, and I made a comment to him that, it's a Friday afternoon in the middle of July. Why are we the only boat out here? It confused me. And he's like, I don't know. And just it just didn't sit right with me that we were the only people up there on that end of the lake. And so we were sitting there fishing. We were casting this weed bed, and all of a sudden, a little ripple comes on the water. It's coming from the south. I'm like, oh, okay. At least we can get a little breeze now, and maybe cool off a little bit. Well, that lasted for about 30 seconds, and then it just stopped, went flat calm again. Then probably about 45 seconds to a minute later, it came out of the north. Same thing, just a little ripple on the water, blew for, I don't know, a minute and a half or so, shut down. Then it came out of the east. And I said to the guy that was with me, I said, "Did you notice the wind, how it's changing directions?" He goes, no, not really. I'm like, oh, okay. And I thought that was very odd. I've fished all my life, and I've never seen where the wind changes direction that quick. And it was just like maybe 2 miles an hour, just enough to put a little ripple on the water. Well, after the wind laid down for the last time, all the bugs on the water disappeared. And we were sitting there fishing, and if you fish and you're sitting there fishing a spot and you know that there's nothing there, that you have to make a move, I just overwhelmingly got this feeling that we need to move. There's just nothing here. It's just the word dead came across my head. And so, okay, so we fired up the boat. We went over to the northeast corner where this creek runs in. And we were sitting there. The boat was parallel to the shore. We were about 200 to 250 yards off the shore. Now, this lake is not very deep, and it's very weedy. And we were sitting there, and the other guy, he was casting towards the shore, and I was casting out towards the lake. So I had my back to the shore. Now, if you are familiar with some of the terrain up around here, it's got a lot of trees, a lot of pine trees on the north end of the lake. And then it just like abruptly quits where there's the creek, and it's got, tall grass and maybe some jack pines in there, but no trees whatsoever. And we were sitting there, and all of a sudden I heard the wind. And the wind it sounded like it was coming through the trees, and it was blowing about 30 miles an hour. And I went, oh, there's our breeze. Maybe we can cool down a little bit. And I turn around and I look, and nothing is moving on the shore. Not the grass, not any leaves on the trees. The pine trees aren't bending with the wind. I'm like, well, that's kind of odd. And I said to the guy, I said, what the heck's going on? He says, I don't know. I said, why are none of the trees moving? And we could still hear this sound. And right then, we're both looking at the shore now. And all of a sudden, it sounds like somebody took a rock that's probably about 2 times the size of a basketball, or they took a bowling ball and threw it in the water. And it looked like it landed about, I don't know, 6 feet from shore. But we were both looking. Nothing came off the shore or out of the brush. And when it hit, you just heard the kapoosh. And then you know how that stream of water shoots up when you throw something heavy in the water? That stream came up from the water, just disappeared. It didn't go back down. It just vanished. And we're looking at each other and I'm like, what the heck was that? He goes, I have no idea. And then down to the left of us, probably a good 300 yards or so, is where there's more forest area. And I happen to glance to my left, and I see this dark spot in the woods. And the grass is just freshly laid down, all in one direction, right towards this dark spot. And I didn't say anything to the guy about this. I just kind of glanced. I'm like, oh, that's kind of odd. And then I turned back, and we were fishing probably 20 yards from, I call them pencil reeds. They kind of look like a asparagus stalk. They're about the size of a pencil. Now, this reed bed is probably a couple 100 feet in length or width as you're looking at it from the lake. And all of a sudden, like 30 of those stalks, they all bent down to the right and touched the water. The rest of them are standing. Just this one group laid down, touched the water, and stood right back up again. And I asked that guy, I said, did you see that? And he goes, the reeds? I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, I saw it. I go, what would do that? He says, I have no idea. Now this guy, he's ex-military. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. So it's not some yahoo. And I'm like, what is going on? He says, I have no idea. We take the boat and we go up towards the shore where we thought something got thrown into the water. There's nothing there. It's just the bottom of the lake. Now you would think that if somebody threw something in there, it's gonna stir up all the silt. There's gonna be, it's gonna be muddy, dark area. Nope, clean. And there was no rocks on the bottom of the lake. So we backed the boat out, and I go, I think I'm ready to call it a day. And he goes, yeah, me too. So we're putting back in, and the entire time, it took us about 20 minutes because you can only go like 10 miles an hour on this lake. The entire time that we're going back in, I just kept asking him, what did we just see? He says, I have no idea. I'm like, help me understand this. I need to wrap my head around what just happened. He goes, I don't know. We get back in, get back up to the campers. I tell my wife, and he goes and tells his wife what happened. My wife said I was just pale. And like, okay. So the next day, he brings his wife back out on the lake to go show her where all this happened. And this is the freaky part. He comes back in, his wife broke down. She's like, just get me out of here. Nope, get me out of here. I don't want to see this. He gets back and he comes over, he goes, hey, do you remember that hole in the woods from yesterday? I go, yeah. He goes, it's not there today. I took the boat back out there and I'm like, nope, just solid woods. And I'm like, what was that? So then that brings me to October of 23. Up here again in the fall, closing the camper. Sitting here watching football, and there's a bar on the property, but they close it at 10 o'clock. And so this is just a little bit after 10. I hear this scream, and I'm like, usually don't hear that from the crowd that hangs out here because it's more like the senior citizens club, and so I hear this scream. I'm like, and it was loud. I mean, it came through the camper like nothing. And then like 5 seconds later, I heard it again. This time it sounded like it was coming up the road. Then it stopped. 5 seconds later, I hear it again, but at a different area. And I'm like, well, whatever that is, that's going up the road and that's moving, because it only took like 10, 15 seconds to get from the bar up by the campers. So I'm sitting there and I had 6 fishing rods sitting leaning against the camper. And all of a sudden I hear the rods scrape across the camper. I'm like, okay, that's kind of odd. No wind. And as I'm sitting here, I muted the TV. I just had this overwhelming feeling that something was in the front of my camper with me. Didn't see anything moving or anything. And in the process of closing up for the winter, we have a little like 1 foot trash can in the bathroom that's got a little lever on it that you press and the spring loaded lid flies up. I had that sitting in the shower stall with the lid open. And as I'm sitting here listening, and like I said, I got this just overwhelming feeling that something or somebody was in the front of my camper with me. And that lid slammed shut. And I just said, okay, you can leave now. And then it was just dead quiet. So I got up and I went in the bathroom and that lid was closed. I go out and I check my fishing rods. They're all standing up on the camper. So I have no idea what's going on up here.
Yeah, that is strange. And what do you think laid down the reeds or the grass when you guys were fishing? What do you think that was?
To be honest with you, Miguel, I have no idea. I have never in my entire life been out on the water and seen something like that. We're just part of them laid down. And my phone was sitting right there. And of course, today I keep kicking myself that I should have just picked up my phone and filmed everything. But I was just enthralled by what was going on. It's totally unexplainable.
Yeah, absolutely. We use our phones when we're bored, but when something serious is going on, that's the last thing we think about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of funny you say that because mine was sitting in a bag on the bottom of the boat. And I actually glanced down and looked at it. And I'm like, I should grab my phone, but I don't want to miss anything. And thank God that that guy was with me. Now, about him, uh, later that summer, we weren't up here at the time, but him and his wife were. He said he got woken up at 2:30 in the morning. He said rocks were coming through the woods and landing by his camper.
Yeah.
And now they they actually um, uh, sold their camper and got out of here.
Oh,
And
well.
he would he wouldn't talk about what happened out on the lake after that.
Yeah, it's an unexplained mystery. To me, it sounds like Bigfoot activity because something the size of a bowling ball landed in the water. He was having rocks thrown at him. A lot of people talk about these creatures being able to cloak like the predator. And that's kind of what I thought. Like something was right there watching you guys, and you observed the grass physically bend down. And yeah, I've had experiences where it seems like something invisible is walking through the woods. It sounds like a lumberjack on 2 feet. And I'm not saying that's what this was, but there is that aspect of Bigfoot activity. But on another note, it could have been something else, maybe something paranormal or some other phenomenon taking place. What would you say?
Uh, as I went down and I was talking to one of the owners about that, about what happened out there. And all she did was smile and she goes, "You just got a visit from one of the spirits out here."
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
I'm like, I don't want any more.
Yeah, maybe there's like giant human skeletons buried on the lake. I don't know.
Yeah, I just the the thing that got me um about the quote hole in the woods
Mhm.
is that I never said anything to him about it, but he saw it as well. And we never talked about it when this was going on or when we were out in the boat. Just the next day, when he came in and said, "Hey, you remember that hole in the woods?" I'm like, my head snapped around. I looked at him and I'm like, "Oh, so you saw it too?"
Yeah. And when you say hole in the woods, did something big move through the brush? Or are you saying like a portal, or what do you
Oh,
mean by that?
I'm talking a portal, Miguel. This thing was probably 20 feet in diameter. And it just, what got me was that it was just pitch black going into it. And, usually, heavy woods and stuff, you'll see, the sun, coming through. It'll get through the leaves and the branches and stuff. And you'll see a little sun on the ground and stuff. This was complete black. And the way the grass was laid down, it's like I said, it looked like somebody just took a big 30-foot log and just dragged it with a tractor and just pulled that grass down. And it, to me, when I looked at it, I said, that's just freshly laid down. That just happened. That hasn't been that way for a couple days. That just happened. But we never saw it. We never saw the grass move or anything.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I've been waiting a long time for somebody to describe one of these portals. I've seen them. I've seen a portal before, but what came out of it was not a cryptid creature. It was a shadow person. And basically, I've told this story a few times on the channel, but I was in Mexico at my family's house. They were gone for the day, and I went into the market and bought some spooky horror, some scary movies, basically. And I went back and I watched. I was watching one of those exorcism movies, and it was freaky as hell. And by this point, it was already dark outside. I was in the upstairs. It's a 2-story house, and when the priest is doing the exorcist on the woman, sorry, I was getting a call. When the priest was doing an exorcism on the woman, he was like talking Latin, and she was like saying all kinds of evil things. And I was pretty scared at this point. It was just a scary movie, like holy, moly, basically. And
I don't want to be a part of that.
no, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. Well, when he was doing that, the power went out in the house. Just everything went pitch
Ooh.
black, and I'm like, oh man,
Oh boy.
yeah, this is scary. So I was feeling my way out of the house, and I'm feeling my way out of the room, and then I'm in a hall, and I got my hands on the wall to feel my way out, and I'm going down the stairs, and I still have my hands on the wall because it's pitch black in that house. It's dark outside, and the houses in Mexico, they're all brick houses, so they're like pretty solid. You can't see anything in there. And as I make my way down the stairs, I go through a living room, through another hall, and out the front door. And finally I can see because there's the dusk of dawn light out there and the street lights. And this black cat runs in front of me, and all his hairs are standing up, and he's just like, wow. Like, it freaked me out. So I jump back, and I'm like, oh my God, it was just a cat. Well, I look quartering to my left, and I see this black hole. It just looks like somebody took a bucket of paint and dumped it on the ground,
Yes.
and it was like dark black, like ink black. And I'm staring at that hole. I'm like, what is that? And I'm slowly inching my way towards it. It's only a few feet away, and I'm staring at it like, what the heck is that? And all of a sudden, this being stands up out of this hole, and it's almost
Oh,
like
shit.
a superhero that landed on planet Earth. Like, he's crouched down and he slowly stands up, and he like confronts me, like we're standing face to face. And it's a shadow person, but this thing is like 3D. It's not like smoke or see through, and it has the shape of like a mannequin in a mall, but it's like jet black, ink black, and it's like 3D looking. And all of a sudden, like, the hairs on my arms, on the back of my neck stand up, and I freaking take off running. Like, fight or flight kicked in, and I was not going to fight, and I ran. And that was pretty much the end of it. My family was across the street at my uncle's house. I told them, they came running. I told them that somebody was breaking into the house. I didn't want to say there's a freaking demon over there or something. I didn't want to freak them out. I just said, somebody's probably trying to break into the house. Somebody was there, and they took off running. There was nothing there, but yeah, that's what it was. It was like a black hole in the ground, like what you would see in space, but on the ground. And it opened up like I've went back to that spot and looked. It's solid ground. Like there's dirt there. It's like, how the hell would that happen? Is that similar to what you seen? Like, was it like a black hole almost?
Yeah, like I said, it was just jet black, and you could not see any trees or vegetation inside it. From my vantage point, there it was just black.
Wow. And
Like I said, no trees, nothing, just black.
it makes me wonder if like the cryptid creatures use portals as well. I've heard a lot of people say that. I mean, you hear the stories of tracks just disappearing in the snow through a field, or how
Yeah.
these things can just evade people, or how you don't find any bones. Like a lot of people don't question this stuff. They're like, no, they're flesh and blood. They are flesh and blood, but there's got to be an answer to it, and it's scary. Actually, my friend Adam from the Half Inch Wrench crew, he heard me talk about my shadow person story, the same thing I just told you. He's like, Miguel, I heard the same story on the internet, except these two kids saw it, and he said one of the kids like got pulled into the hole, and he went missing for a long time, and I guess he reappeared, and the other kid that was with him said that he was never the same. It was like a different person when he came back. So that's scary.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and you hear about
That's
missing people. It's like what's going on out there?
it, you know, it, I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but in 2019, I was battling some cancer, and I was home recuperating, and somehow I got down the missing 411 rabbit hole. And I was just sitting there on the couch, just wide eyed, mouth open. I'm like, how can this happen? How can these people just disappear into thin air and not find a trace?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the
And then,
stories are all over North America.
oh yeah, I mean, obviously you've heard Dave Plaitis and listened to him.
Yeah, the one that hit
Uh,
me the hardest was The Hunted. I don't know if you watched that one.
yes,
Yeah, that one was
yes, oh
definitely,
yeah,
it touched my heart because you know, people lost their family members, and it's their family talking about it. Like they don't have any answers. Like where else are they going to turn? I'm glad David decided to listen to them and, you know, take them seriously, because it's like once somebody goes missing, the search party goes out. It's pretty much the only answer you have is like, we looked, we don't know where they're at, and there's no explanation, and that's got to suck.
right. Oh God, I can't imagine. The other thing that I wanted to add to about what happened out on the lake, um, just before all this started, um, people have talked about this. I've heard many stories of where everything just goes quiet,
Mhm.
and it did just before it started. The wind came through the trees, and then, like I said, there was no water bugs on the surface of the lake. No more birds in the woods chirping away, just dead quiet. And I I likened it to, you could have heard a gnat fart out there. It was so quiet.
Yeah.
And after, and the thing that this other guy we discussed is that when whatever hit the water, or whatever came out of the water, and that stream of water shot up and it disappeared, he's just like, did you see that? It just disappeared. It didn't come back down. Where did it go? I'm like, uh, man, I'm sorry. I saw the same thing you did. I have no answer for you.
Yeah, that definitely is strange, and I'm glad you decided to call me to talk about this. It almost seems like our existence, our I don't know what you'd call it, our dimension collided with another. And it almost reminds me of like when a bad storm's coming in, like a tornado, like the barometric pressure changes, and you can just
Yep.
hear, you can hear really good. Like it feels different outside. I don't know how to
Oh,
explain it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I totally understand it. Like I said, I've fished most of my life, and I've been out on water when really bad weather hits and when it's really good weather. And when you're out there, because you're sitting out there in a boat, an aluminum boat, with fishing rods in your hand, obviously you're going to be aware of, lightning and thunderstorms coming in. And so that's why I pay attention. And, maybe that's why this other guy, he didn't really pay attention to the wind direction changes in such a short amount of time. So
Yeah, so there was some strange weather taking place before everything got quiet. Did you notice like missing time? Did you hear like a metal door slam? Anything strange that you can think of?
no, none of that, you know, just like I said, just it all just happened, and it took probably 30 seconds from the time that I heard the wind and snapped around to take a look. I think two of the things that got me the most was the sound of the wind and no branches moving. And, you're where you're located, you got plenty of trees. You know what the sound of the wind sounds like coming through the trees,
Hmm.
and it was loud. And I'm like, man, that's got to be 30-40 mile an hour wind, but nothing was moving. And then whoosh, it all started. And then, like I said before, the reeds touching the water, that was only like 20 yards from us, if that. And we clearly saw them. Just and they didn't snap down. They just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hit the water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 came back up.
Yeah, that is strange. You have physical things taking place, but also it seems like something spiritual, like the lady said. You experience the spirits, and yeah, that's scary.
It, and I haven't told this to too many people. What what was running through my head when those reeds bent down and came back up? I just had this vision of a giant muskie swimming towards the boat. And I swear to God, I was going to see it come right by the boat. And I'm talking, this thing was probably a foot wide or better across the back. That's just the vision that I had. And, as we were coming back in and I was talking to this other guy, I'm like, do you think it's the muskie gods that are all up in arms because you caught that big muskie a couple weeks ago? He's like, I don't know. He was of zero help to me, Miguel, trying to understand what happened. I must have asked him 1,000 times, what did we just see? What did we just see? I don't know.
I'm sure he still wonders about that still to this day if he's still around.
Well, uh, my wife spoke to his wife. Um, I think I told you that I had a conversation with somebody from MUFON about this,
Hmm.
maybe last summer, summer before. But and I asked him, I called him and asked him. I said, "Do you want to have this conversation with this MUFON group?" He said, "Absolutely not. I don't want to talk about it anymore."
Yeah.
And that was it. And then, like I said, last year they sold their camper and got out of here.
Yeah, that's creepy to think about. And maybe that's where the cryptid creatures are coming from, paranormal activity, UFOs, and maybe like the universe is like a giant maze and like you don't know what's going to walk out of one of these portals, whether it's like a skinwalker, just a Bigfoot, a dog man, I mean, a
Right.
spirit, a shadow person, an alien. You just never know. And I feel like they're coming from different angles. They're not all coming from the same place. And I mean, I can only theorize. I mean, I could be completely off, but there's got to be an answer to this strange phenomenon that's taking place.
Well, I'd love to hear what it is because, like, to this day, I still have no. And I've told the story to a couple of people up here, and I was up here, oh, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago, and happened to go down to the bar to get some food. And I was the only one in there, so the new owners, they're actually daughter and son-in-law of the previous owners. He goes, all right. He says, I got to hear it. And I said, you got to hear what? He says, I've heard it from different people. Tell me what happened to you out on that lake. So I told him, and he was just standing there staring at me like I just took his child from him. He goes, you got to be kidding me. I said, no. I said, I'm not going to lie about this, and I'm not going to hide it either. I don't feel ashamed or embarrassed. And I think it was later that fall. Again, I was up here, stepped out for a smoke, pitch black, and I see this light, for lack of a better term, an orb. And at first, I'm like, shooting star. So I just took like 5 steps, and I'm out on the road, and I'm watching this thing, and it's just going down the road, and I'm like, shooting star, cool. Wait a minute. That's just at the treetops. That's not a shooting star. I'm like, okay, time to go back in.
What color was it?
Whitish blue.
Yeah, that's interesting. I seen an orb on the tree line one time, and it was at the very top. And I was just looking into the woods, and I'm like, man, I wonder what star that is. Like, it's behind the trees at the very top, and it was bright.
Yeah,
and so I was staring at it for a few minutes, and I started to walk away. And when I look back, this thing is moving out of the trees and into the sky, and it goes all the way up into the middle of the sky and just floats off like into space. I'm like, what the hell? That thing was just sitting there on like in front of the trees. I thought it was like a planet or a big star.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I'm glad to hear that somebody else is seeing this stuff too, because I'm like, I was really starting to question my sanity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just aware of this phenomenon, so I'm always out there looking for Bigfoot, and I'm staring at the stars, and I'm listening to things that people normally wouldn't pick up on. And what I've noticed is some years, like certain things are like active, whether it's like UFOs or Bigfoot activity, and other years it's like nothing's going on. So there's something strange to that. And I feel like it's all tied in because like the same areas that I've had Bigfoot encounters in, I've also experienced UFOs and other strange phenomenon, but it doesn't all happen at the same time. Maybe it happens years later, but still it's like that's no coincidence that this is
Nope.
happening here where I've seen Sasquatch. But maybe it's not tied in, but at the same time, like if you were caught at a crime scene, you would be suspect, you'd be questioned. And I feel like when you tell somebody you've seen a UFO in the same area you've seen Bigfoot, they're like, well, you're probably just seeing two strange unknown things in the same area and they're not connected. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, you proved to me that they're not.
Yeah.
Um, there's one more I want to tell you about, and I've got a picture that I can send to you as well. So there's where the campers are here. There's a little like dog walking trail. You know, most people just take their dogs down this trail. It's just a little loop. And a couple of years ago, I was walking my dog through there, and like, come around this corner, I see this tree laying over the trail. Not a real big tree, probably I don't know, probably 4 or 5 inches in diameter. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of odd. I get up there, and this tree is snapped, and it's laying over the trail. Now, of course, this goes back to, have you ever watched Les Stroud?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. So this kind of goes back to some of his theories and others as well, that this is a sign from Bigfoot that, hey, this is our property. You need to stay out of here. And I took a picture of it because this tree was the only one broken around several other trees. And I'm like, that just doesn't happen. And this was a fresh break. The owners had cleaned it out by the time I went back up there and took the picture, but I got the picture of where it was snapped. I'm like, okay, I do not take the dog out there anymore.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I've only been out on the lake twice since that little experience happened out there. I got a boat. It's sitting at my house, 150 miles away. I just don't have any desire to go back out there. I just totally, like I said, I've fished all my life. I have no desire to go back out on that lake.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I mean, you experienced the strange, unexplained activity that's taking place out there, and you lose your taste for the outdoors. I mean, you watched the missing 411, so you know the possibilities, and what you experienced wasn't normal, and you know it was real, and you also had someone else with you that confirmed it.
Right. Yeah. I just wish he would do it publicly, but unfortunately, he's not.
Yeah,
But
that's understandable. And as far as the tree broken in the middle of the trail, I've documented that a lot, especially on video. And these things, they will block trails. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's Sasquatch activity taking place there, and also other strange phenomenon that we don't have an answer to.
yep, there's a young couple that moved in or moved a camper in last year just across the road from us, and I was talking to them last fall because he's got a couple of teenage sons that they go out there fishing all the time, and I told him, I said, well, one of these days I'm going to have to tell you what happened to me when I was out there, and so we got that opportunity, and his wife said, "Oh, there are spirits all over the place up here." She says, "I can feel them," and she's one of those people that has got that, I don't know, whatever extra chromosome or something that she can feel all these spirits around here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And there's people that can definitely do that. Animals can certainly do it. And do you have a dog?
Yeah, I do, and you know what? That the when this stuff happened in the camper where that trash can lid got shut and everything, he's hard of hearing to begin with. He didn't move. He slept through the entire thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard about that happening. There was a family that was being terrorized by Sasquatch, and I think these things were banging on the house. And they said the whole time that was happening, all the crazy activity, the dogs were asleep. They never got up, which is
Yeah,
kind of strange.
yeah, especially with noises and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I can give you another secondhand uh, experience. There was when we first started coming up here, there was a couple from South Carolina that would come up and spend the summers up here, and his brother owns a house right across the highway from this place. And somehow we got on the subject of Bigfoot, and he said, "Yeah, let me tell you what happened." He says he's staying over at his brother's house. He says about 2 o'clock in the morning, his brother was down in the basement sleeping, and John was upstairs. It's kind of an odd house where most of it's in the ground, and there's just maybe one story above ground, and the windows are like 8 feet off the ground. Okay, and he said about 2 o'clock in the morning, he says something was banging on the windows. He said it, and it woke him up, and he thought it was his brother messing around. So he got up and he started walking downstairs. His brother's still sleeping in the basement. He said there was definitely something banging on the windows at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Yeah, I actually interviewed a lady earlier from Arkansas that was talking about the same thing with her neighbor, and she's seen the Sasquatch on her property. So, yeah, that's
Mm.
freaky. It sounds like like I said, there's unexplained phenomenon taking place there as far as cryptid creatures and other things that cannot be explained. And I don't know, it's just my theory that I feel like there's giant skeletons somewhere around there or sprinkled around there. And I've noticed a trend where the giant skeletons are found. That's where a lot of this activity is taking place. Now, were the Native Americans um like living
Oh
there
yeah.
back in the day
Oh
in
yeah.
Hayward? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
There's a public access to this lake, but you have to take a gravel road, probably about good mile and a half, 2 miles to get to it, and it's nothing but forest on both sides of this road, right? So I think it was 2 summers ago. I was just figured I'd take the dog out there and go walk around and see what's what. So up from the probably about I don't know, several hundred yards from the boat launch, there's a trail that goes into the woods. And I'm like, oh, this looks kind of cool. So me and the dog started going down there, and I just got this creepy feeling walking in there. It's like, man, you you could go missing in the snap of a finger like that, and it just, I don't know. I just felt really creeped out, and so I just turned around and got out of there.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And I've interviewed several people from Hayward or who were in Hayward that were on the channel in the past, and I don't remember them mentioning a national forest. So Hayward is in a national forest area.
Well, it's called Shawamigan National Forest. It's to the east of Hayward.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. And there was locals in the comments saying, "I've lived here my entire life and I've never experienced anything." It's funny how non-locals come here and experience this stuff, and they were just trying to write them off. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
and that's one of my questions. Is It's like, okay, so you experience something. Are you chosen to experience something?
Yeah,
You know what I'm trying to
I think
say?
some people are just prone to having these experiences, especially with the spiritual, and I think they're attracted to certain people for some reason, or I don't know. Maybe it's a gift. Maybe certain people are chosen, or maybe it's a curse. It's hard to say.
Yeah, yeah. Depending on the day, it could go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. But there were also a lot of locals who said, "Oh yeah, there's totally strange things happening in Hayward."
Yeah, yeah. I remember one of your programs where it, I don't think it was that far from here either. It was down on I think it was like Sullivan Lake or the Tiger Cat flowage.
Hmm.
Somebody was talking about something back in the 30s or something, and somebody told somebody their experience, and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, there's plenty of that going around, but nobody talks about it."
Yeah, I think that's a big issue is a lot of people aren't talking about it all over North America. Like we hear a lot of encounter stories on online, but I think there's probably only like 15% of people actually opening up and talking about this stuff. A lot of people they don't want to ruin their reputation. They don't want people to think they're crazy. They don't want their workplace to find out about it. They don't want their wife or friends to find out about it, and that's just unfortunate, but that's just how it goes. A lot of people take it
Yeah,
to their graves.
yeah, yep. Just like the guy that packed everything up and left, and it was funny because they'd never said anything. It's just, and we talked throughout the winter and everything, and um, they live down in southern Wisconsin, and we thought we were really good friends with them, and then all of a sudden they sent us a text and said, "Yep, we're selling the camper and leaving," and
Wow.
that was it.
Yeah. Well, that's a shame. I got family that lives in Round Lake, Wisconsin. I wonder if that's close to there.
Yes.
Really? Yeah, I heard somebody say something about an encounter at Round Lake, like somebody seen a Bigfoot, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Ooh, I've been there before. I know where that's at."
Yep. Yep. Just right outside of Hayward, right?
I guess so. I haven't looked on a map, and I guess it is close. I used to drive up there with my family. I was just a kid, and I wasn't driving, so I don't know the highways or anything. I know we went through like the outskirts of Chicago to get there. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's not far from here. Let me just put it that way.
yeah. Well, I mean, if people are having experiences in Oklahoma or Illinois, why
It
wouldn't they
doesn't
be
matter.
there in Wisconsin? Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. And uh I know probably about 3 years ago, one of our first years up here, wife and I decided to take a drive uh on some of these old forest roads and dirt roads up here and just see where they go. And it's just like, it's kind of creepy how thick the woods are. And you could walk 50 feet off the road and you wouldn't even know there was a road there that you just came off of.
Yeah. It's pretty remote up there. And what I find fascinating is like out here in the Ozarks, people talk about the legends of Bigfoot, the hairy man. And then when I go up north, people are like talking about little people. It's like a big thing, like, oh yeah, the little people. Do you guys ever hear anything about that in Wisconsin?
I have, I personally have not.
Yeah. It's a big thing like in Minnesota and the UP of Michigan and Canada and Alaska. Like a lot of people are talking about them. Like it's like common knowledge up there. It's like, what? Little people.
Oh boy, another rabbit hole to jump down.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I just wanted to ask. You never know.
Nope.
Well, they say they're tricksters, and I feel like the Sasquatch are the same. Like they'll trick you, and I feel like a lot of the activity that you were describing, like there was like some type of trickster there, whether it was like something like a paranormal spirit, a Sasquatch in the area, or I don't know, something messing with you. That's what it sounds like.
Well, I tell you what, it's last summer, me and the dog were up here, and he likes to lay in the back of my truck. So I'd get him up in the back of my truck and put his bed back there, and he just loves to spend the entire day outside and just lounging in the back of the truck. So I had him hooked to a uh, steel cable that's wrapped in plastic, and it's got those spring-loaded latches on each end. And he was hooked up to his collar. The other end was hooked around camper steps. And I'm in the camper doing something, and I hear that leash or that tie out hit the ground right outside the camper door. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe he just jumped out of the truck or something like that. I poke my head out the door, and here's that cable laying down at the bottom of the steps, and the dog's still in the truck. And I'm like, I know I heard that cable hit the ground. Why isn't it attached to the dog anymore?
Yeah, that is strange. And I hear it all the time with people like in their home. They're like, my keys just went missing. They were on the counter. I looked everywhere. I looked for 2 hours. And when I looked back on the counter, there they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's strange. I mean, you hear the Native Americans talk about shapeshifters, and you hear Christians talk about demons and deceiving spirits, and the natives talk about, these things being tricksters. And yeah, I mean, it kind of mirrors the whole deceiving spirit thing. Like it's the same thing, just in a different fashion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's got to be an explanation to it all, a scientific explanation, but I'm sure there
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, but nobody's got it yet. That's what gets me is that I just I would like an explanation of what happened.
Yeah,
Somebody tell me what happened, please.
absolutely. I mean, I feel like other dimensions is an explanation, a portal opening up, and I don't know. I feel like you got to experience what a lot of people talk about, especially like in Alaska with missing people and strange phenomenon taking place. Like you watched it unfold. You may have not seen the beings that came out, whether it was cryptids or spirits, but you saw the physical altered right before your eyes.
Yep. Yeah, hopefully something I will never see again. I'm good not seeing it anymore.
Yeah, I feel like more things will happen throughout your life, and you just have to be ready for it and know that there are things out there that we cannot explain.
Yep. Yep. Well, Miguel, those are my experiences.
Well, I appreciate you for sharing those with me, and I definitely believe you 110%. And I appreciate you for being open about it and not worrying about what other people think. And I am sorry that you went through the cancer that you did, and it sounds like you beat it. My brother recently
Yep.
got diagnosed with it, so it's definitely a horrible thing, and I'm glad that you were able to pull
Yeah,
your way
thank
through it
you.
and fight
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that was not a fun trip, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a devastating time in your life for sure.
Yeah, I could think of way better things to do. So,
Yeah,
but knock on wood, it isn't coming back, so we're good to go.
absolutely. Well, pray it doesn't come
And
back and just enjoy your life. And I would get out
yeah,
there and go fishing, man. I wouldn't worry about it. And if it starts to happen again or you notice anything strange, I would get out of there.
well, I'm grabbing my phone. If something else happens again, I'm grabbing my phone because that way, if somebody doesn't believe me, I'm like, okay, watch this. Now you tell me what happened.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll be surprised who will open up about this activity when you talk about it openly, especially with locals. So just see, kind of poke around and see if there's other people that have experienced the same thing. I know you have been. So, keep
Yep,
at it. You're doing a good thing.
yep. And prayers to your brother.
I appreciate that. That really means a lot. All right, Paul. Well, you enjoy your time camping out there. And if you experience anything else in the future, definitely reach out to me. I'd like to hear what else happens, or if you run into somebody else who has an extraordinary story, let me know.
Or I will definitely. And thank you very much, Miguel, for letting me share this story and uh, mostly for my neighbor sending me the link to your YouTube so we could talk. It feels better talking about it. At least you can explain to somebody that would understand what
Yeah.
happened or understand that it's not a normal experience. When I tell it to my wife, she knew something happened because when we came back, I was just pale, but she doesn't quite grasp. I don't know what is it, the totality or exactly how it affects you. Now,
Hmm.
she's a. I've been a Bigfoot believer for a long time, and she's always poo pooed it,
Hmm.
but uh, she's. I think she's sitting on the fence 50-50 right now after what happened and some of these other things that we've seen. She's like, well, she said you'd have to be closed minded not to think that something else could possibly be out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even like the diehard skeptics, eventually their way of thinking will warp and they'll turn to the other side and be like, well, maybe there is more going on. So everybody changes throughout time. And the
Yep.
believers, they just keep believing and
Yep.
believing even more. But the skeptics, they will change their mind eventually. It is real, it is happening. And there's a lot out there going on this planet and in the universe that we just can't explain. And that's just how it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely tell your friend who showed the YouTube channel to you. Tell him that Miguel from Sasquatch Theory said thank you, and I
Yep.
appreciate it.
I will. Yeah. I told him, I said, yeah, I said, I got a response from him. So I said, I'll let you know what happens.
Okay,
So
good deal. All right, man.
thank you again, Miguel. I really appreciate your time and the the effort that you're putting into this because I do believe there is something out there that exists and you just need to get an answer.
Absolutely, and maybe it'll save some lives. You never know.
You never know. Thank you, Miguel.
Yep. Thank you, Paul, and you have an excellent day. Okay.
Yeah, you too. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye. That wraps up another chilling episode of Sasquatch Theory. Paul's experiences in Hayward reminds us that the unexplained doesn't just hide in the shadows, it sometimes steps right into our world. Whether it's strange winds, vanishing splashes, or portals in the woods, his encounters push us to question what reality really is. I was actually amazed when I heard him mention this black hole because I had seen the same thing in Jalisco, Mexico many years ago, and it's haunted me to this day. And for some reason, I don't usually hear people mention this, so when I heard Paul mention the black hole, it really hit me hard. So I was really, really excited to hear about this encounter, and it does make me feel like it's connected with the missing people and other worlds, dimensions, portals, whatever you want to call it. I feel like a lot of paranormal activity is coming from these portals, cryptid creatures, and aliens and UFOs. Is it all connected? I have no idea, but I do feel like it's related in some way, shape, or form. What are your thoughts about this? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you have a Bigfoot or cryptid encounter you would like to share with me sometime, please feel free to get in touch with me. If you want to help support the channel, you can leave a donation through the PayPal, through the thanks button, or you can purchase some merchandise. But either way, I appreciate everyone for listening to these encounter stories. And yeah, if you guys venture out into the wilderness, please keep in mind the information that you learn from the podcast, because you never know if it's going to happen to you or someone you know. Until the next one, you guys take care, be safe out in the woods, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Take care.